Hello everyone, my name is Zara and it is Saturday night, and what a better thing to do on a Saturday night than talk about Pokemon, right? So, I have opened a tier list with what I have to presume are all of the Pokemon games from the main series. I see some stuff like Pokemon Coliseum in here, and Pokemon XD, but I haven't played those. I'm just going to be talking about the mainline games, and I guess I'll talk about ZA a little bit. But yeah, I'm going to be ranking all of the mainline Pokemon games. And yeah, let's get started. So, where to begin, right? We should probably begin with Pokemon Red and Blue, which I actually just recently played. I finished a Pokemon Red playthrough. I also started Blue. Basically, what I was doing was I was trying to complete a living dex, and you are required to have Red and Blue in order to do the living dex. Now, my living dex is actually on the yellow file, but I'll get to that in a minute. But I never know where to start putting things in a tier list, so I'm gonna put it in C. Basically, it is very simple, and obviously it kind of jump started the whole franchise, which is fantastic. But playing these games in 2026 is really a challenge in endurance, right? There's a lot of quality of life things that these games do not have. One thing that became a problem pretty early on was the inventory system. The fact that you have to drop off items at the box. As someone who mostly grew up with the modern games, the idea of actually putting things in my personal PC just was not a thing for me, right? And so it was very shocking when I was like, oh, I can't just pick up every item I come across. It's very odd. But also, it's one of these things where if you can kind of look past the graphics, if you can kind of look past the weird jankiness of the mechanics, it is really enjoyable, and it's a very fast game to get through. I'm pretty sure the speed run for glitchless is like a little bit over an hour. And in my experience, a casual playthrough will take about 24 hours in game. So it's really good for like if you just want something nice and simple to do. But yeah, the graphics are just really hard to get past. It's really hard to get past. And it's very glitchy, as you'd probably find out playing it. So yeah, we'll put this in C. We'll see if I end up having to move it anywhere else, and let's move on. Pokemon Yellow, I did play. Automatically, I'm going to say it is better than Red and Blue. First of all, the graphics are so much better. It seems like a little thing, but like the sprites being more accurate to what the canonical look of these Pokemon is massive. The fact that each city has their own color scheme is so much better for the eyes. It's one of the reasons I didn't actually want to play Pokemon Red, is because just having red non-stop just shooting at you is like, it's really dull. Having Lavender Town actually be purple when you visit it is so like, it's these little things that make the experience so much more fun. Obviously I was not a fan of getting Pikachu but not being able to evolve it, but that's because it's trying to stay accurate to the anime. But I did like that you actually get the starters. You can actually get the starters as long as your Pikachu is pretty friendly, which I kept my Pikachu until the end of the game. And it was just really nice. It was a really nice experience. It was actually the first Gen 1 game that I completed. I had started a Pokemon Red playthrough, but I ended up quitting that because it just got too annoying, the little things. But Yellow kind of eased me into the Gen 1 look and the Gen 1 mechanics enough for me to be able to play Red. So for that alone, I have to reward Yellow for making Gen 1 kind of palatable, right? And besides that, just it's a nicer experience. And you actually get to have Pikachu follow you around, which is not a mechanic that they brought back until I think Heart Gold and Soul Silver, I think, is when they finally brought back Pokemon being able to follow you outside of the ball. And so that was nice to see again in an early game. So yeah, I don't know. I don't want to ramble too much, but again, it is better for me playing it in 2026 than playing Red and Blue. And yes, Yellow is where I'm keeping my living decks because again, the sprites are so much nicer. And of course, that was the first Gen 1 game that I played, so that's where most of my Pokemon were anyways. And yeah, good game. Being honest, I actually have not completed a playthrough of Gold or Silver. My Gen 2 experience was with Crystal, so being honest, I'm going to put this in the haven't played pile, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be roughly where the Crystal playthrough was, which is, again, right there with Yellow. I really... The upgrade from from Yellow to Crystal is like night and day. Like, the colors are so much more vibrant. The little things like holding items was just so nice to like have Pokemon start to actually feel like Pokemon like I'm used to. Obviously the region is not my favorite, and Crystal definitely feels like a sequel to the Gen 1 games, in a way that the other regions don't tend to do. The other regions tend to feel like their own thing, and Johto feels very much like an attached, conjoined twin to Kanto. And a lot of its identity is still wrapped around Team Rocket and the Kanto kind of experience. In fact, they don't even have their own Elite Four and Champion. They kind of share it with with Kanto. So, oh my god, it's kind of tricky. Playing it alone, I don't know. It's kind of a battle for me whether or not I think that it's better than Yellow, because obviously the quality of life stuff and the visuals are so much nicer than Yellow, but I actually think that Kanto is a better region to play through than Johto, so I'm actually going to give the edge to Yellow. But they're both really good games. I'm actually going to pull these down a little bit to make room, because I know that the series gets better than this. I'm going to put Coliseum here, and I'm going to put Gale of Darkness here, because I haven't played those, and probably never will, because I don't know if I'm ever going to get a GameCube. But yeah, we're going to put those there. I technically haven't, again, same thing. I've played the upper version of Gen 3, so I haven't played Ruby and Sapphire, but I have played Emerald, so again, I'm pretty sure my Emerald review is actually going to be pretty much where I would have put Ruby and Sapphire anyways, but yeah, just being a little transparent there. Fire Red and Leaf Green is just, it's everything I like about Kanto and Gen 1, but like way better. I'm pretty sure Leaf Green was the first Pokemon game that I ever played. I played it with the Game Boy Advance cartridge in my DS, and it was so cool. To me, that's quintessential Pokemon. I think it's kind of hard to take off the nostalgia glasses, but even so, it's all, again, as I said, it's all the things I like about Gen 1 and Kanto, but like the graphics are so much better. The gameplay is so much better because you have abilities, you have the upgrade of typing, so like Magnemite and Magneton or Steel type. But also you get to replay gym leaders. You get to replay the Elite Four. You get something that I really liked when I recently was playing Fire Red on the Switch is I really liked using the re-battle or whatever it's called, a rematch, where you got to play people again and actually like see their improved teams. That's actually something I wasn't utilizing with the Crystal playthrough, but I really did enjoy. Playing it again recently. It totally holds up. Fire Red and Leaf Green totally holds up. And I think that it's something that casual players can get into in a way that you can't really get into Gen 1 and Gen 2. Like, Gen 1 and Gen 2 are definitely, like, that should be after you've really gotten into the games. If you want to experience Johto, play Heart Gold and Soul Silver. Like, don't play Gen 2, right? So, yeah. Fire Red and Leaf Green, really good games. Emerald... I know this is like slander. I am not actually a big fan of the Hoenn region. And I actually had a much better experience earlier on. Like I actually played Omega Ruby, or actually I played Omega Sapphire before I played Emerald, and I was actually kind of disappointed with how Emerald played. I much preferred the remake, but I'll get to that in a minute. Playing it and just my overall ranking of it, I'm gonna put it below. I'm gonna put. First of all, I don't know why there's an E rank, so we're gonna delete this. Second of all, I guess I'm going to put Red and Blue in the F tier, and I'll leave Emerald in D tier, but it's just not really my thing. Like, Hoenn is just not really my thing. It didn't really, like, speak to me, and I did end up getting Rayquaza before I did the Elite Four, and it was like a delete button for the Elite Four and the Champion. It was way too overpowered. It was way too overpowered. If I ever played these games again, I would not use Rayquaza, because that was just it was ridiculous. But even before that, it's kind of frustrating trying to get through it. Some of these fights are just a little bit too hard for where they are. Like, there's definitely, like, a wall that you hit where it's, like, you're trying to move forward and it's kind of pulling you back, and it's, like, really, I don't know, it didn't speak to me in a way that I think it speaks to a lot of people. So for that alone, I'm gonna put it in D. Again, being honest, didn't play Diamond and Pearl. I did play Platinum. I think I actually preferred Emerald to Platinum. Platinum was a mess. The Elite Four is actually where I spent most of this game. It was just training up and training up and training up and replaying the same battles over and over and over again. And I'm pretty sure that Cynthia fight is actually the first Pokemon, like, playthrough game that I put on the channel. And it's because it was just such a nice, like, okay, I finished the game. Like, it's over. But before that, like, the entry into the DS era, just didn't... I wasn't a big fan of that. Barry is not a very compelling rival. In fact, he's kind of just annoying in a way that, like, maybe if I was a kid, I'd relate to him more. But, like, him coming on screen and doing the monkey dance and just he was too much. He was too much in a way where I was like, I am losing respect for the main character, for my, like, avatar character, because she is friends with this Barry kid. Like, I was like, how dumb are you that you're friends with this Barry? I didn't like Barry at all. The gyms were fine. I can remember the gyms in Platinum actually better than I remember the ones in Emerald, which is hilarious because the ones in Emerald I had already played before in Omega Sapphire, and yet I cannot really remember any of the gyms other than, like, my dad, the normal type gym. That's the only one from Emerald that I remember. Platinum, like, I remember the electric gym. I remember the rock gym, the first one you do. I remember that, like, water gym. I'm pretty sure this is the game where you have, like, that not sumo, but, like, the wrestling, like, water gym guy. And yeah, the Giratina thing was kind of cool, but, like, going up the mountain was just, ugh. I don't know. Now that I'm thinking about it, I don't know. Maybe I do actually prefer Platinum over Emerald. See, I'm trying to, like, figure this stuff out in real time, because I'm like, now that I'm thinking about it, I actually have more memory of Platinum, and I played Platinum a while ago, and I just got done with Emerald, like, a month ago, and yet Platinum, I remember that so much better. Like, that was such a more vivid experience than Emerald. So I'm gonna do this, right? I'm gonna do this. And I when I finished Platinum, I was like, I hated Platinum. And now I'm thinking about it, I'm like, well, maybe I, like, judged it too soon? I don't know. Heart Gold and Soul Silver absolutely will at the very least be... You know what? I'm gonna put it above Pokemon Yellow. I still think that Fire Red and Leaf Green edges it out. But, like, I really... Yeah. I preferred those games to a lot of the other games that I played. I think the graphics were in that sweet spot of, like, not like really annoying, like what was about to happen with Black and White. Like, it was just that nice sweet spot of, like, the graphics look good. There's still pixel art, but, like, it plays easier than Crystal does. Like, Crystal is a much, like, harder game to, like, play through as a casual thing rather than, like, just experiencing Johto. You know, I picked up Lugia at one point, which is not something I ended up doing with Crystal, and it was just a nice experience. It really was. It was a nice experience, in a way that a lot of these other games kind of felt like slogging. Yeah, it was just solid. It's just solid gameplay. Black and White. My least favorite Pokemon games. By far my least favorite Pokemon games. Those games are so dialogue intensive, and I just could not... I couldn't bring myself to care about N as an antagonist. Because his whole thing, and the whole thing of the entire, like, Team Plasma, the entire thing was just like, we want to separate the relationship between Pokemon and humans, and, like, Pokemon battling is awful, like the whole PETA thing, but they don't commit. And it was so annoying, because I'm like, you guys are saying this, but you are all Pokemon trainers, and you fight Team Plasma, and I actually feel like they should have committed to the bit. It actually would have been a much better experience, maybe, of the story, if they had just committed to the bit and changed up the way that it works, right? Because up until now, we've had antagonists who have no problem using Pokemon for their evil deeds or whatever, or for the plot, right? And here it's like, okay, they don't actually want people to be using Pokemon. So do something else. And it's not my job. I don't work at Game Freak. It's not my job to figure out how to change up that formula. But like, if you want to do this story, do the story. I have no problem with the story, but do something different. Like, do something that I can take seriously, because I can't take seriously that N wants, like, has this goal, and yet he's aspiring, like, he's a Pokemon trainer, and he says at several points, he's like, I don't really want to be a Pokemon trainer. It's like, then just don't do that. I don't know, I couldn't take him seriously at all as an antagonist. Once again, you get a legendary that's kind of thrust upon you. Like, you can deny him, but like, you get that, like, I can't remember the name, like Rish, like, I can't remember the name of it, but it's the dragon type legendary that you get. Risharam? That's the name that I keep trying to say, but it's like I'm saying it wrong somehow. And again, it's a delete button. I don't like those. I prefer playing the Pokemon games without the legendaries, but like, making the other thing is that on some level I kind of respect Black and White, because it did the thing where you couldn't get previous generations of Pokemon until the post game. And the way that I like to play them is I like to play teams that are specific to that region, right? I'm playing Pokemon Violet right now, and my team is all Paldea Pokemon. It doesn't have any previous generations and stuff. And so on one hand, it was a lot easier to make a team, and even a pretty good team, in Black and White than it is in a lot of other games. Like, my Alola team is just, it was so hard to like find Alolan Pokemon for that playthrough, but it was so much easier with Black and White. And Black and White actually, I think Gen 5 is the generation with the most Pokemon in it. And yet, other than like the members of my team, I can't think of a single Gen 5 Pokemon that is like iconic, that like I look at it and I'm like, yes, that's like quintessential Pokemon. Like, let's go to the Gen 5, like my ace in that playthrough was Zebstrika. But like, which of these Pokemon is like iconic? Which of these Pokemon like screams like, yes, this is quintessential Pokemon, right? Zebstrika was my boy, right? But like, other than them, like, who? I mean, no one. Like Chandelure, maybe. But that's it. So it's like 100. What is it? It's like 156 Pokemon, and just like nothing great out of this generation. And it was just such a, like, I don't know. Yeah, the dialogue was way too much. The visuals were what I'm like. That's what I was alluding to with talking about Soul Silver and Heart Gold, where like the visuals were not like annoying. Where like the Black and White, like 2D, but it's not 2D. And you'd have like those video calls, and it'd just be like a flat, and like their mouth would be moving, like whatever pose they're in, they're like, and their mouth would be moving, and I'm like, that doesn't look good. That looks really weird and tacky, and like something you might see in like a rip-off game. Like, if you're not gonna do full animation, don't do that then. Like, if you're not gonna do animation, don't have it like an anime pose in there, and just do like lip flaps. One of the last visuals that you get in Pokemon Black and White is N talking, and it's N in his like whatever pose, and his like lips are moving, and I'm like, oh my god, that looks awful. And then the game ends, and I'm like, I don't know. I don't want to go on like a whole rant about it, but yeah, needless to say, I had no interest in playing Black 2, because I was just like, I was over that game when I finished it. I was just so happy. Pokemon X and Y, not good experiences. You know what? I'm gonna do this, right? X and Y, I just don't have any. I don't have any love for it. And it was like Pokemon Y was actually the first Pokemon game that I bought as an adult with like a full-time job and stuff because I was in the military. But like I bought Pokemon Y, and I like never finished it. And then I finally like came back recently because I wanted to do the thing where I played all the Pokemon games, and I literally like was like, okay, cool, I'm gonna pick up Pokemon Y, start a new file, and try to complete it. And it was such a slog. Again, like Pokemon Black, it was such a slog trying to get through it. And the animation was still in a weird thing. Like, I preferred that 3D look over what they were doing in Gen 5, but like it still looked weird and clunky, and it was like doing the weird like chibi thing. And the only thing I will say is that the Gen 6 Pokemon's roster is a lot better. Like, Gen 6 is where you get Sylveon, it's where you get Vivian, you get, Flipbaby. I'm like half joking. But, like, you get so much more out of such a smaller, roster of Pokemon. Don't get me wrong. Me doing my thing of trying to have region-specific, teams, it's really difficult when you have such a small pool. But, like, it was so much, I don't know. Like, that's kind of the thing that edges out Pokemon Y over my experience of Pokemon Black. And also, it went by quicker than Pokemon Black. Pokemon Black took forever versus Pokemon Y, which was like, okay, cool, we're speeding through and we're done. Alpha Sapphire Omega Ruby, I still don't know if I'm saying that right. Where to put these games? Again, I don't know what it is. I think the remakes, like these remakes, we get some bad remakes pretty soon, but these remakes are just so much nicer. Like, it's such a nice experience. You know what? This is what's gonna bump down Crystal for me. It was such a nice experience, and it made Hoenn feel much more breathed in. What I will say right off the bat, and I'll actually bump it down a little bit for this, I did not like the amount of times that they brought up Mega Evolution. And that was actually a thing that came up a lot during that game. To my dismay, because I don't... First of all, it kept reminding me of Pokemon X and Y, but the second thing is I'm like, I prefer for a remake to feel like it still came from the story of that region, right? And the story of Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald does not include Mega Evolution. So every time they kept bringing it up, I was like, oh yeah, right, this is not Gen 3, this is Gen 6, where they're trying to push Mega Evolutions, make that a thing. And it was like, it didn't feel like a surrogate for playing the earlier game. It just felt like playing a new game that happened to be in that region, which is a problem I have with, which is a major problem I have with the Let's Go games. We're not getting into that right now, but yeah, I just didn't like that. I prefer that the remake feel like it came from the generation that it's supposed to be a remake of. And that's one of the things that I really like about Fire Red and Leaf Green, is that until you finish the game, you're not encountering Pokemon from other generations. But like in Alpha and Sapphire, like in Alpha Sapphire, I literally would like come across a Pokemon and I'm like, is that Gen 3? Is that a Gen 3? Or is that a Hoenn Pokemon? And I had to look it up and I'm like, no, it's not. It's a Pokemon from like Gen 4, Gen 5. And I'm like, cool. Again, that breaks my immersion. I'm like, I don't want to see... I can't even remember what Pokemon it would be. But it was like, let's say Bastiodon. And I'm like, I don't want to see a Bastiodon in freaking Hoenn. You know, it's really annoying. I thought it was really annoying to keep encountering Pokemon from other later regions. But it's not like Let's Go where it's supposed to be years later. It's supposed to be the same story as the Gen 3 games. It's just they decided to also include Mega Evolution and other like later Pokemon. I don't know. For that alone, I'll bump it down. But like, there's a lot of quality of life things again that are better about Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, and the Latias, like getting to ride Latias around the map and stuff. That was such a cool experience, and something I don't know if there's anything like that in other games where you get to like fly, like properly fly on a Pokemon. I don't think you get to do that in other titles. I really don't. Like, I think the closest you get to that is like riding Koraidon and Miraidon in like Gen 9, but like that's not the same thing as like flying across the map. So for that alone, I think it gets a few bumps up, right? Sun and Moon is... I'm trying to remember if they had HMs in Sun and Moon. HMs. Yeah, okay. They did. They removed HMs in Sun and Moon, which was I had such a problem with HMs. Going up, it's such a breath of fresh air to not have, to like have dedicated slots to HMs, in Sun and Moon and in the later games. But the Alola region was just so, it just didn't click with me. In a way, and I want to like Alola. I want to like it because it tried to break the mold. Instead of having gyms, it had the crystal trials, which I genuinely liked. I liked that a lot more than, or not. I didn't like it more than the gyms, but I liked that they were trying to break the mold. I liked that they were trying to like try out different things. I think Alola is where you get introduced to regional forms, but trying to make a team out of only Alolan Pokemon was so hard because a lot of them kind of stink. And some of my team, I'm pretty sure, were regional forms of Kanto Pokemon, which I didn't want to do, but like you kind of feel like, okay, these regional forms are kind of different, like their typings are different and stuff like that. And, like, it's still very, like, it's still very Alolan, like, Alolan, Golem. I'm trying to think which ones I had on my, I think I had Alolan Muck on my team for a while. And, like, that works. Like, I really did like, that member. But I was like, is it really Alolan to have a regional form? I don't know. So trying to make an only Alolan team was really tough, and it was actually way too cheesy. Like, in a way, like, some of these games were kind of frustrating because they were hard. Sun and Moon was actually very easy. Trying to become the champion in Alola was way too easy. It was way too easy. To a point where it wasn't even... I don't know. I just didn't... I don't think I'd be reaching back for Pokemon Moon anytime soon. It wasn't really for me. Again, we're gonna put it down here. I feel a little bad, right? This is 5, 6, 7, but like, I promise my enjoyment is not just like, oh, older games are better, newer games are bad, but like, sorry, older games are better than newer games. Like, that's not my mentality, but like, I don't know. That time period just it just did not speak to me at all. I'm going to do this. I'm going to move stuff up because I can already tell you that my S tier is probably, yeah. Stuff might get moved around. We'll see. Ultra Moon I haven't played. Let's Go, Eevee and Pikachu. It's barely a Kanto remake. First of all, it's very confusing because it's the exact same story as the Gen 1 games, but it's not. It, like, you meet Blue at one point. I don't know if you ever meet Red because, spoiler alert, I quit. I was playing Let's Go Pikachu for a while, and I quit. I tried playing Let's Go Eevee because I like Eevee a lot. As you could probably tell from my decorations and stuff and some of my videos on this channel, and I quit. The Let's Go games are so, like, I don't like that you can't fight wild Pokemon. You can only catch them. In order to counterbalance that, in order to get experience, you have to fight trainers or just catch a bunch of Pokemon that you don't need and aren't going to use. And the fact, one of the things, ironically or weirdly enough, that annoyed me the most was trying to, because I usually play with one of these, and because it's trying to be Pokemon Go, when you're using one of these, or when you detach the Joy-Cons at all, you can only use one of them. So if you're left-handed, use the left-handed one. If you're right-handed, use the right-handed one. And so I would just, like, constantly be trying to turn things with this one. And I'm like, oh yeah, no, right. This is not a controller that's going to be attached to this game. Or worse, what would happen is I would end up pressing enough buttons that it would wake it up and send in a second player thing into the game. So it'd be like, okay, get that guy away, you know, like, it's just so annoying. It's so annoying for, like, no reason that, like, they tried to make Pokemon Go into an actual mainline game and just succeeded in pissing me off. It's by far the lowest Pokemon game that takes place in Kanto for me, and it's well deserved because it's just garbage trying to play those games, and I can't get myself to finish those games. They're just so frustrating. Yeah, I'm gonna leave that where that is. Well deserved at the bottom. Sword and Shield. I actually need to replay Sword and Shield because I think Pokemon Shield was the first Pokemon game that I completed, like completed the game, became champion. Before that, I'd, like, played around, picked up some Pokemon. I don't think I ever completed the game. Like, when I played Leaf Green, I don't think I ever became champion. And so, but, like, it's not a very memorable experience. I don't know. Should I rank it low because it was not a very memorable experience? I'm going to put it here, because it wasn't so bad that it deserves to be an F tier. But, like, it also, I just don't remember very much about it. I don't know. I just kind of want to leave it there, but it's kind of sad. If I do replay it and I find that experience is a lot better than I'm remembering, then, maybe I'll redo this video and I'll fix that. But I just can't remember it that well, and it kind of, like, in my brain, it's just like a generic Pokemon game, so we're going to leave that there. This was Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. It's another game that I didn't finish, so it's going to have to be in the F tier because I didn't finish it. At least I finished Black and White. I forced myself to finish Black and White because I didn't want to have any, like, actual original mainline games that I, like, just flat out did not complete. But, like, Black and White was really annoying. But, like, I don't know. Maybe part of the reason I didn't like the Brilliant Diamond playthrough that I had was because, I was trying to do it as a Nuzlocke. And that was actually my first experience with Sinnoh as a region. But like I think a Nuzlocke kind of taints experience when it's the first time experiencing that region. Like, I could do a Nuzlocke of Kanto because I've experienced Kanto so much, as you can obviously see, that, like, I could maybe enjoy them, but, like... But I don't think it was just because it was a Nuzlocke. I don't think it was just a circumstance. I think also just the art style was really off-putting, like the chibi-ness of it. And people have talked about how this was kind of pushed off onto a associate game developer. It wasn't Game Freak that like made it, and you can kind of tell. And there are a lot of like things that were fixed in Platinum that were actually reverted back in Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl because those are direct remakes of Diamond and Pearl and not like taking any cues from Platinum. But yeah, it wasn't it was an experience that I ended up like trying to finish out. I just kind of let it go. I've never played Arceus. I own it. I'll probably do it at some point, but like I don't know. I know that it has the, I don't know, I'll get to that at some point. I'll put up ZA. It was better than X, and, like, if you're gonna play ZA, I would definitely play ZA right after finishing Pokemon X or Y, which is basically what I did. And it was nice to kind of, like, see the move up from how Kalos was in X and Y, but like I don't know, the mechanics of like real time battle instead of like turn based, it was so frustrating for me that I actually like quit the game for a while. And then when I came back after finishing X and Y, it turned out that there was only like an hour left of the game, but oh my God, I don't know where to rank it. Because like the actual like feeling of like fighting in that game was so annoying doing the real-time stuff, but like also like I actually liked Lumio City. I liked how it was represented in ZA. It's a lot more fleshed out. I like the implementation of like rogue Mega Evolutions. Definitely deserves to be higher than X. Than Black and White. I say it's better than X. I'll say it's probably C tier. I will put Black and White down here. Sorry. Because overall, I think it is a nice experience. But yeah, it's not like a top tier experience for me. And Scarlet and Violet, definitely A tier for sure. That the story is just so nice on a first playthrough. It is so interesting. I love the characters. I loved I loved like the experience of like open world and like getting to like go to different gyms, and I like you sort of create the story with your Pokemon and stuff, and that's something you can do with every game, but like my Scarlet team is just so like for me that is my champion team. Like when I think like what would my champion team be, it would be the team that I had in Scarlet. It was such a cool experience. And it like genuinely made me emotional at the end. Like I already told you about my experience with Barry as a rival, but like Nimona, Arven, to a way lesser extent Penny, are like so cool of like friends and rivals or whatever, that like by the time you get to the end, it is you really feel like you've gone on a journey in a way that like most of the other games don't. Most of the other games, you know what? I'm gonna move this down and I'm gonna put this up, and I will go ahead and do this. But yeah, Scarlet was such a cool experience. I'll never forget. And that's what makes me really excited for Gen 10. Like, I really believe the Gen 10 has the capacity to be, like, a really cool experience. I just really hope that they don't end up going to this, like, leaving the turn-based play style. Because, like, if they leave that, I'm very quickly gonna give up on Pokemon because I cannot do real time. Real time is so annoying. But yeah, this was my tier ranking. Let me actually check it one more time, make sure everything's in the right order. Spider and Leaf Green, S tier. Scarlet, S tier. Pokemon Yellow. I don't know. I really think... Oh, my goodness. I don't know. Hold on. I will... Just for the sake of, like, ease of playing, I will move it down. I'm going to keep it in A tier. But, like, I think if I were recommending games, I would definitely recommend Heart Gold or Alpha Sapphire before I recommended Yellow. But Yellow's actually... It really holds up, I think. In a way that the other Gen 1 games don't. Crystal and Platinum. I will actually put Platinum higher than Crystal. Because I really do think that the regional problem is an actual problem. You know what? I'm going to do this too. Sorry. When I think about my Alpha Sapphire team... Alpha Sapphire team... in my Shedinja, I already talked about Shedinja in another video. That was a way... I really love that team so much. So that experience alone pushes it up. But yeah, there you go. Emerald. Red and Blue. ZA. We'll do this. Yeah, we'll do that. Sun is better than X and Y. Yeah, I guess. And then Sword and Shield. Again, I'll play that soon and let you guys know if my feelings change on it. But then, yeah, Black and White, Brilliant Diamond, and then Let's Go Eevee and Pikachu. I'm sorry to my boy Eevee, but, like, yeah, this is not there for me. And then, yeah. Some of these games are definitely, like, I don't need to play that. I might at some point, but, like, I don't need to play the lower versions of games I've already played. As well as, like... I'm sorry, I just didn't have fun with Black and White or, like, Moon. So, like, I'm not gonna play these, I'm pretty sure. And then at some point, I'll probably play this. But, yeah. These are my rankings. Let me know what you guys think. I know that putting Scarlet at the top is very controversial, but, like, I don't know. This is my list. Let me know what your guys' list is. And as always, be kind to one another, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.